Thanks for checking back with us as we are ready to enter the playoffs for 2021, the NASCAR Cup Series season, and can't wait. Starts on Sunday night. Don't forget that. We have a Sunday night because of Labor Day weekend race that starts it all at Darlington. And look who's back, CJ.
I'm back.
Is finally back after what sounds like a crazy couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll keep some of that off the air.
Yeah, we actually should have started 10 minutes ago, but you know,
I would hate to see. Well, we probably get a lot of views. Like, what is wrong with this guy's life?
It would have gone viral for sure.
Yes, almost like Denny Hamlin's situation last night.
What did he do last night?
I don't know if it's something his girlfriend kind of outed him with a bunch of stuff on social media.
Oh, he's having some. Okay. Denny Hamlin's having girlfriend problems as the playoffs begin.
She broke up with him on Twitter.
Interesting.
And
how long have they been dating for?
Out there. Years.
Maybe that's what Denny Hamlin needs to win the championship now.
Somebody, I saw the funniest comment on there, the whole thread. I went through like a rabbit hole last night, just like, I'm holding the baby, it's sleeping. Let me see what this is about. I can't make too much noise, but I can read. And the best comment I saw, because her name's Jordan, and somebody put, he chose the other Jordan. That's Michael Jordan over, and had a picture of him and MJ. I'm like, that's it.
He chose the other Jordan. Okay.
And then they have his paint scheme with FedEx, and it says Fed Up X. And it has a picture. It's like, oh, he's going to get memed to death now.
You stay away from social media when you break up nowadays, that's for sure.
Oh, I can't. That's the fact that you just aired. I'm not going to tell anybody what to say. It's their social media, but it's like, you put that on social media. Like, you broke up. Like, you can't have the conversation behind closed doors. And
because you actually expected something different.
No,
come on.
21st century. I would have expected something different from her. I just like, where did this come from? Like, why did you choose now to out this? Like, this is bizarre. And then of course it blew. I mean, it was trending, and then people are calling it like his ex or his ex-wife. I'm like, he wasn't even married, but I'm not even going to comment because I don't want to be dragged into this. And I think they broke up over like in the off season, got back together, and she basically said, "You've never changed. You still are who."
Wow.
Basically, it sounds like a lot of cheating, and there were females commenting on this that they were involved. It just
this is what was happening when you were holding your baby last night.
Yeah, it's like you're never dating. I was like, what is going on in this world?
Eric.
So bizarre, so bizarre. Like, I'm not going down that wormhole anymore.
Stay away from social media.
She deleted it this morning. I saw
for this weekend. Denny Hamlin may have other things on his mind.
Yeah, it kind of led me to believe, like, okay, is this going to be a distraction?
Could
for
be.
him now?
Could be a good thing. So we'll find out.
Yeah,
I hope so. He's my top pick. So
he's good there. We'll see. We'll see if
didn't we all go? He's the only one we all went with.
I think
that's correct.
Yeah,
you're spot on.
That's our fault, man. We're the one that spurned this. Every time we pick somebody, something happens.
Well, hopefully it's a good thing. You never know. I think it could be a good thing. Yeah. Maybe not for this week, but for the championship, it could be.
Maybe it'll get some more focused on.
Maybe he will.
But they got kids together, so I can also see where it could go the other direction too.
Yeah,
so
well, I can't get any worse, to tell you the truth. So there's something that's holding him back when it really matters the most. So maybe, you never know. So, I mean, I look at it. Ricky Fowler, coincidentally, I mean, he was at the top of his game in golf like 2 years ago. He gets married, and his world ranking has plummeted. And I don't care what anybody says. That's not a coincidence.
No, it does take your time away. I mean, it does. It does change you. They've always have said, especially for race car drivers, younger ones tend to be faster because they haven't hit anything hard yet, and they don't have wife or kids, dependents depending on them. Like, I don't want to crash and die. I don't want to crash. I've got a family at home. Or a single driver that's younger, just they're wrecked. They don't care. They have no care in the world. They just want to race. So that is a true statement that people have judge drivers off of. It's not like, hey, this guy's younger. He's got more of a drive. Whereas on the flip side too, as you get older in your career, they know that you've got a drive that you need to make an income to provide for your family. So you may put yourself in position to win races, but you also may put yourself in position to finish second or third if that means backing out of it to live to see another day. So it's a weird correlation that you could go down a weird rabbit hole if you wanted to, that look at stats of people that before they were married and after, and it's a real thing. I mean,
I'm sure it is.
Affects me. I mean, affects my life as a father and a husband. So I could see where race car drivers aren't immune. They're people too. So that definitely could.
Well, it's interesting because they had the big race at Daytona on Saturday night, and thank goodness there was no rain, there was no delay. We actually had a good race. We had a really good, exciting finish. And before that, with the crash, and then you had Kyle Busch being interviewed after, and he's still talking. And look, it's something because he's still talking about the whole safety thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like I understand what he's talking about. He's in the car, we're not. But it's like everybody's kind of safe nowadays. It takes like a really freaky accident for anything to go really, really wrong. And I'm sorry, Kyle, but that's not changing. They are not changing that. That is just gonna. You might as well not talk about it because it's just not gonna change. It's what fans want to see. It was look. I don't think there was any way Buescher could have won the race after when they put the flag out. He was too far behind. I don't know if you guys disagree with that, but it was exciting because it just got so close with De Benedetto. It looked like he was one move away. Like if Chase Elliott doesn't block him and De Benedetto goes around Elliott, I wonder whether or not De Benedetto is going to get caught at that point.
I think he was going to win. I thought he had the car there. And we threw some money that way that night. And I think him and Corey LaJoy.
It's Corey LaJoy.
They were right there. They both got it. The thing is, too, which is another can of worms that I wonder is, let's just say the caution doesn't come out or Buescher. Let's say he gets by Blaney and wins. Do you take the win away? How does that work? Because he got DQ'd.
They would have taken it away.
I just wonder something like that. We always question NASCAR's officiating. Does that even come out? Do they like, oh my God, that thing is something happened, but we can't let this get out at 1:00 in the morning. That now the playoff guy, because he would have taken a playoff spot. Now what do you do? Or do you like, hey, we know what you did. Don't ever do that again. You're in, but
they probably wouldn't let him know that. I doubt that they would, because then all of a sudden too many people know. So
yeah, it was a weird thing because it opened up a thing that I think has got to get addressed sooner than later. Is if your car is illegal and you win to advance in a round, win a championship, what do you do if it's illegal? Like, what do you do? Like, how late is too late to announce a penalty? And did they do that saying, try it? I mean, because the front row guys had rear deck lids that were completely like they made them themselves.
All right. So what was the issue with his car?
Was it a trailing mount? Something underneath the car, like, because it went through inspection and passed. They clearly changed. I think it's the way the car rides, like the ride heights. Because you notice he was sparking a lot, in which the lower your car you can get to the ground, the faster it would go. And it was clearly an advantage. That's why they DQ'd him. But it clearly was something that happened after it went through inspection, because they inspect that.
Were they purposely trying to do this after inspection or during the race?
Had to have after. You can't do it during the race.
Yeah. It was a track bar mounting. You can't.
So they manipulated it after inspection.
Had to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something had,
unless there was some colossal failure on pre-race inspection. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that? I don't understand. I thought when you go through inspection, you pretty much can't touch the car.
But you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to. But there's probably ways they have cameras there for that reason. Like, because it used to be, which a funny story. A few years ago at the Brickyard, a buddy of mine works for the AP in Indy. Here, we were walking on the track, but the cars were lined up, and he was like, "Why does Chase Elliott's car have a little hole, like a dent in it. And I'm like, that is odd. Like, that's got to be some aerodynamical advantage or disadvantage. I don't know why it's there. We're walking by and we don't see it on anybody else's other than Hendrick cars. And he just asked an official, like, hey, quick question, not trying to get anybody in trouble, but what is, like, how did that pass inspection? He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, there's like a dent right there by the door. He goes, well, that's not supposed to be there. I'm like, what? And all of a sudden he gets on his radio and all these officials are out there. And he's like, oh my God, I did not mean to get him in trouble. And he's actually
his name out.
Yeah, I gave his name out. And he asked, oh my God, did I do something to get him in trouble? Like, what's the process here? What happened? And he said they go through different stations. This is before this laser one. So this is a few years before that. And they have cameras and you sign off. Like, okay, I saw this station. I sign off. Good. You go to the next station. CJ signs off. And then you sign off on the last one. The car goes to the grid. And if you notice something on the grid, then you work backwards. Okay, well, it came through gray glass. Let's see did he sign off on an illegal piece of this car? No, it's not there. So how did it happen? And then they watch. So they probably behind the scenes know who did this on route. They probably watch the cameras because there's ways. I mean, that car goes from an inspection to a holding area. You could roll under the car and change something. I mean, it's. They probably practiced it in the shop. But here, how do we do this quickly?
All right.
So
here's how you end that, though. It's easy. It's sort of like, when they always talked about, well, how come, they don't want to have fights in baseball or fights in hockey? And, well, they stopped the fights in hockey with the bench grilling brawls. Anybody that comes over, automatic 10-game suspension or whatever the rules are nowadays. Well, you have to have such a strict law. I don't mind when they try to cheat and do that. Everybody does it before inspection. But this is such a bad stain issue in NASCAR. If that scenario were to happen, like you said, Eric, where what happens if it's like a name driver? What happens if you go to bed, you wake up, and all of a sudden sorry, I found out the guy DQ'd, whatever. And you're also talking about gambling is involved and all that. So here's the way you fixed it. Okay, if you get caught before the first regular inspection, you get the regular fines and everything else. But if it's after inspection, you have to lay the hammer down. You have to make it such a big penalty that there is no way anybody's going to try doing that again.
Yeah, because if I was a Chase Elliott, Kyle, these guys, like, you know what? Why don't we test it out? Let's see how far which is what they're doing. Like, hey, I'm going to bring an illegal car to Bristol night race to get by the next. Let's see how they treat this. Because, like, it'd be like Chase Elliott winning the championship again in Phoenix. Everybody's got their stories wrote. Just kind of like I had Buescher finish in second. Everything was done. It's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was, to find out it's DQ.
Imagine that.
It's like you wasted all the story.
Yeah, but imagine that for a championship.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, how do you fix that? That opened up a thing to me. Is like, which I'm going to ask those questions when we get closer to Phoenix. Is what do you do?
Good.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Like it's not like a basketball, football, Super Bowl or something where you don't just go the next day, the Monday after the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, Tom Brady was ineligible.
Yeah.
The Chiefs actually won the Super Bowl, and it's like, well, we wasted all that storyline for a whole day.
They wouldn't do that. Nope.
Yeah, so my curiosity would, if Buescher would have won, what would have happened? Or does NASCAR just swallow it up and say, hey, we can't really go backwards because we fudged this up. This car should have been caught. Like, I don't know what you do with that.
And I got and you benefited, and I got screwed out of 50 points for second place because I went to sleep thinking I had 50 points in my fantasy team from Chris Buescher, and I woke up and you had Wallace with the 50 points. I was like, what the hell happened? I was supposed to have 185 points, and it got taken away from me, so I got pretty pissed. But anyway, what are you going to do? All right, now, so the regular season is put to bed. Before we get into the race, we're going to talk about the playoffs first. And let's take a look at our preseason. Everybody has a refresher on what we did in the preseason for our predictions. And let's start with the questions, because you put those questions together, Eric.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yes, I
yeah,
did.
and the first question was, will Stewart-Haas Racing win 6 races in 2021? How many races did they win, Eric?
One. Remember, we questioned, like, God, 6?
That might be
was it
too
9?
low.
Yeah, I think they won 9 the year. Yeah, 9. Kevin Harvick. Yeah. So yeah, they weren't even close.
Wow.
We set the over/under at 6, and it was 1.
Well, and both you guys had the over, and I'm assuming you both had the over, thinking Harvick was going to have at least 5.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I thought there was no way he'd get less than 5. And well, speaking of cheating, you can tie that in with this. Is they said a lot of their issues are stemmed from the way they inspect the cars this year. They've been very vocal about that. And they said was the left or right rear wheel hub area is where they said they've lost considerable amount of downforce because of the way the cars are inspected. And like, so you're basically admitting you've been cheating.
Caught up to us.
Yeah.
Not fair.
It tells you. Yeah. It tells you how this ebb and flows. And it's like to me, what it sounds like, which I know we'll get to our playoff picks, is why I have Harvick going out so early. I don't think they're going to correct it. I don't think they know how to correct it. And there's a new car coming out next year. I think they're dead in the water at this point.
They would have by now. Yep.
The other question was, we all lost this one, unfortunately, because we didn't put it like, will there be at least 2? What do we have? Will there be at least
2 new winners?
2 new first-time winners.
New first-time winners.
Yeah.
And there were 2.
2 for 2 at the start of the year.
Yeah, the
first 2 races.
Yeah, so there were 2.
First 2 races.
Yeah. So, and then the last one, will there be at least 3 new playoff drivers? And we all went with the over in that one. And that's what happened. And it helped because Kyle Larson wasn't in last year.
Yeah, that was the big, because with Reddick, Bell, and McDowell, I mean, everybody else, the way the season started off to the way it ended is like polar opposites.
Yeah. It was like,
it's
wow.
Weird how that.
2 already? That was it. CJ had the best preseason prediction for drivers making the final 16. He only missed 1. And
McDowell.
Yep. McDowell. Shame on you for missing McDowell, CJ.
Michael McDowell. Yeah.
Instead of DiBenedetto, who almost won on Saturday night.
Almost did it. Yeah.
By the way, if that's like, I don't know, Keselowski, name another driver that fans, Kyle Busch maybe even, if that would have been that type of driver that did that to DiBenedetto, I think there would be a little bit more of an outcry. Because let's be honest, here's Chase Elliott, champion driver already at that stage of his career, and he's cutting off DiBenedetto. I mean, come on, dude, seriously, because he didn't really have to do that. I understand why, but I bet you if that was my point is, if that was a driver that it was more fans were more critical of, I think we would have heard a little bit more outcry. How could you do that to DiBenedetto?
Probably right. Yeah. Probably right. I mean, DiBenedetto has grown a huge fan base, and he was on the best streak of his career. Just a ton of momentum, and if there was any race that he could go out and win, it was most definitely Daytona, and he looked on course to be able to be doing that. But yeah, fan favorite Chase Elliott jumps out in front of him, pulls a block. Yeah, good. I don't know. Kyle Busch maybe doing that, or somebody else probably would have had more of a reaction.
And as far as our predictions, preseason predictions to our playoff predictions, there's only one driver that we all agree on as far as our playoff predictions, and that's easy, and that's Kyle Larson. He's the only driver that we all have in the Final Four. And we did not have actually, we only had one driver. We did have one driver that we all agreed upon preseason. Do you know who that driver is?
Hamlin?
No.
I was going to say Elliott or... No.
We had Blaney? Elliott twice. The only one who didn't have Elliott was CJ.
Was it Blaney?
Yes.
I knew it. I was going down between Elliott and Blaney.
We all had Blaney, and the only one right now that doesn't have Blaney is CJ. So
correct.
We'll get into that in a little bit. And you checked out the preseason odds. So Kyle Larson was what, 11-1 when the preseason began. I don't remember when it was when he got down to like 2 or 3 to 1, but it seems like he's been there for like 2 months.
It's been at least 2 months. I was going to say 6.
I would say May or June, because remember we talked about that. Like once he's going to eventually be down to 5 to 1, then he's going to go to 3 to 1, and then he was settling at 2 to 1. I think it was probably right after the 600. It would be after that or Sonoma when he's on that.
Yeah, it was that weekend when he won the All-Star race, and
right in June.
That's when it switched.
And the driver that you got the biggest bang for your buck, if you put some money on him, was William Byron, who was 50 to 1 to win the championship. And Byron right now is, what is he, like 12, 14 to 1? Something like that?
I think he was at, I think 12. I think he's 12 to 1.
Yeah, because, and we'll talk more, because as far as our futures were concerned, what did we have? Let's see. So our futures, $100 maximum per driver during the regular season. At each playoff round, we go up an additional $100 until the Final Four, where we can spend $500 per driver. And right now, CJ, you still have a profit on the biggest one is Kyle Larson.
Still trying to maintain that. Exactly right. I jumped on it early.
So that's the big one. That's the big payoff for you. What do you have a big payoff, Eric?
I think they're all pretty right. Mine are right in the same
all like kind of even
all pretty,
right now.
Pretty even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is, I think, Blaney. Blaney is mine. And I think I might have Byron and Bowman too. I'm not sure. Okay. Now let's go over our predictions for the Final Four. And also break down the 16. So let's see what we got here. You guys, first of all, let's see. CJ, you decided to go with Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and of course, as we mentioned, Larson. Now, that means that you have 2 new drivers. In the preseason, you went with Blaney and Logano as your other 2. You have swapped them out with Elliott and Kyle Busch. Explain.
And Kyle Busch, much more momentum, I feel, at this point. Blaney has momentum, obviously, with back-to-back wins. It's his first multi-win season in his career in the Cup Series, which is great for him. But Penske, you got to judge them by what Logano has been doing, because he's been the one that's traditionally over the past couple of seasons been able to outperform and perform most consistently above the bunch or among the bunch. So when you see Logano starting to be underwater, when you see Keselowski even longer than Logano being underwater, kind of worry about the organization as a whole. Blaney may be able to pull it out. I just haven't seen it from him and his team the entire season. Maybe they'll get hot and go on a streak. I've got them going up to the Final Four, but not into the Final Four. I just think that this momentum right now is going to end up being short-lived. I think the organization's got a little bit more of a hurdle to clear than, say, an Elliott or a Kyle Busch right now, who have been consistently picking up the pace as the playoffs have grown closer.
Taking a look at your picks, the ones that stick out for me would be that you don't believe Ryan Blaney, as we said before, will get to the Final Four. So Eric and I do. And you also have, I don't know, maybe I think the only other thing that might stick out is the fact that you have Kevin Harvick eliminated in round 1.
Yeah, and it's for the exact reason that Eric mentioned earlier in the show.
Well, you both have him out in round 1.
Yeah,
yep. They have not figured it out. I would have expected at least these last 2 races for Kevin Harvick to have shown something before going into the playoffs, and he's literally shown nothing. He's been, and granted, we've got the weird courses, but one of them was Michigan. They're just not there. They're a step behind the rest of the competition. They have been all season. Hendrick's already in their game. Penske is ahead of Stewart Haas right now, and then certainly Joe Gibbs Racing right now is ahead of Haas. So Kevin Harvick going out in the first round. He's bottom in the standings right now. Because he hasn't picked up many stage points and stage wins, that may come back to bite him very quickly.
Okay, and by the way, you had both Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch being eliminated in the round of 12, and I bring those two drivers up because we had the first ever fantasy trade, and we did it just before the playoffs began. We talked about it last week, and I just decided, yeah, well, why not? And so even though Keselowski has more points than Kurt Busch, and obviously is a little bit better of a driver over this stage of his career than Kurt Busch, the main reason was, and then I think it's kind of simple. It's that we all know Keselowski's at a better stage of his career, Eric, but Kurt Busch is just a hotter driver right now. So I think that made the trade pretty even.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, after hearing Keselowski talk the other day on the media day, I think to me, I've got them on borderline first round exit. Now, I feel like he thinks they can't really turn it around for starters. And two, it just seems like because he's not going to be there next year, they just feel like it's a lame duck situation. Like it just feels like the team, he's trying to rally him. He's kind of mentioned that, but with COVID and things going backwards, it's not like he can be in the shop. And Kurt Busch kind of mentioned the same thing because he's not going to be there next year. That team's closing, but it's like they all are kind of rallying together. And it feels like it's clicking where, like we've talked about a few months ago when this Keselowski thing came up, like, is this going to be a dark cloud hanging over them? And I feel like it is. I feel like it's just something's amiss. It just, I don't know, other than them changing rides, I can't put the finger on it. I mean, Blaney's is hot. And as CJ said, I kind of question a little bit of Blaney's because you got to look at the two races he just won. It was with help. And he mentioned that. It was drafting help. It wasn't like he won on pure speed. It was he got lucky in Michigan and restarted in the front row because the first three went the outside, and circumstances allowed him to win. He got a good push from behind. Daytona, Corey LaJoie pushed him to the lead. Indy, he told us on pit road, I didn't have a second place car. Everybody took themselves out, and here I was. It's like Penske's a little bit off right now. And in this sport, in this day and age, can you just flip the switch? I mean, I don't know how you can just flip the switch and be good again. And Keselowski just seems like that oddball out right now that it's hard to flip the switch when I think the team members know that he's not going to be there next year. So I just feel like they checked out.
So you switched Keselowski to being knocked out in the first round?
No, I haven't. I have him advancing. I have him borderline. It
was borderline. Okay.
Yeah, he's that team that you hear them talking the NCAA tournament selection shows, and they're on upset special. They're the ones on my. He's that guy. I think,
and he's also capable of going all the way to the final 8 or final 4.
He is.
Yes.
And he mentioned that to me. He's like, I asked him, most of the drivers on the other day, in sports, a lot of times when you go into the playoffs, you should be championship ready at that moment. Like baseball, basketball, suits, NFL. Like you don't go in the playoffs thinking like I can still build this thing. We're not quite there yet, but we're close. Racing 10 weeks is a long time. That's almost 3 months. Like, do you have to be championship ready now going to Darlington? Do you need to have a championship team, or do you have the luxury of 10 weeks? Can you build up to that? And Keselowski mentioned, like, yeah, I don't know, because I've had seasons where I've entered really hot and I've been bounced early, and I've had seasons where I never thought in a million years I'd make it past the first or second round, and I made it to the championship 4. So he doesn't know. But a lot of them say they think you need to be operating at championship level now. So I don't think they're operating at a championship level anywhere close.
Yeah.
So that's why they definitely an upset special, especially for the tracks that are this round.
Well, if he was operating at that kind of level, I definitely wouldn't have offered him to CJ. So
True.
That's the whole idea. I know I'm giving away the better driver, but I'm hoping that the better driver towards the end of the regular season will be the better driver into the playoffs, but nobody knows.
No.
I did notice that CJ, before I turn over to Eric's picks, you were the only one that decided to stick with Denny Hamlin.
It's self-explanatory. I've been saying it every single week, except for the weird tracks. He's how many times now? It might be off of one hand. You might have to go to your second hand at this point, where within 3 laps at the end of the race, he's in position to win. He's been consistently fast all season. It's been these weird things that have been knocking him out. I didn't know about the tweets before I.
Don't bring those up again.
But there's something that I feel and I see in what they've been doing over the season, that when that win comes, and I'm still saying he's going to win before the end of the season, I think when that win comes, he's going to rip off a bunch of them, and he's going to rip a bunch off really quickly. And that's why I've got him going to the Final Four again.
It's Sunday night. We all hope it's Sunday night.
Yeah.
All right. So, Eric, taking a look at your final picks. Let's see. Well, you have Christopher Bell making it 2 rounds to the round of 8, so that kind of sticks out. You also do not believe that William Byron is going to do much better than last year, so you have him in the round of 12, getting by just 1 round. As we mentioned, you have Harvick also out in round 1. And the only other thing that sticks out is Kyle Busch as your champion.
Yeah, I just feel like I bet against him before, and it doesn't pan out well. And he just feels last year coming into this playoffs, it's like they were chasing the car. They weren't there. He kept saying, I'm not going to make it long. And then by Bristol this time last year, he's like, I'm going to get bounced in the second round. There's no way. And he did. And now it's a different tone. You just feel like he's got all this momentum. And I agree with CJ that with Hamlin too, like it feels like Gibbs is there. I just feel like they've caught Hendrick. And Kyle made a good point that he feels like they've caught him, but he said it's also in a sense you have to be they're on the point where you got to be perfect to stay with them. Where Hendrick, they're already there. In order for them to come back, they'd have to royally screw something up. But it's playoff time. Kyle Busch knows how to win. I just feel like I had to take it that you look at the tracks and in each round, and with Denny, I agree with CJ. He could win anytime, any place, anywhere, and he's going to go on a run. It was just hard for me to have him win the round of 8 when he hasn't won this year, and that was the only thing that took me. Like, do I want to bank on him winning? Because I feel like he's going to have to win a race at some point to get to the championship 4.
Oh, yeah.
And he hasn't won since Talladega last year. I'm like, well, he could win Talladega this year, and it could spark a run. But I look at the tracks in the round of 8, and you see 2 550 tracks, and that's Hendrick's bread and butter right now. And it comes down to Martinsville, where it's going to have to win or go home situation. I just feel like there's a Truex, maybe a Blaney, somebody that's closer to the front, or Kyle Busch, I think was my pick to win that race. That's the only thing. I don't think Hamlin's lost pace by any stretch of the imagination. He should have 4 or 5 wins right now. It's circumstances that took him out of wins. And the summer months, odds tracks. But I feel like Hendrick catching up and then not getting much better in odd situations are the only reason he hasn't won. But I think Kyle Busch is going to consistently right there to capitalize where maybe Hamlin would have been. So that's where I went. To me, it'd be between one of those two to win.
Well, CJ, you don't necessarily think that William Byron is going to be eliminated early. You have him as your official championship sleeper.
I do. I have him actually going all the way up to the round of 4, but not into it again. He's proven multiple years now that despite his lack in experience, he's able to navigate these playoffs. He's able to find his way through. He's in a very nice position this year in the top half, if I'm counting correctly, of the standings. So that gives him points to be able to get through the first couple of rounds pretty easily, even if he ends up having an issue. We'll see how he reacts if he does have an issue. But regardless of that, he's shown multiple times that he's able to navigate these elimination rounds. Hendrick is at the top of their game right now. He's definitely more consistent than Alex Bowman. So I see Byron being able to ride those waves of momentum right into the final 8.
And Byron, I'm the only one that put him in the final 4. And I just looked at it as a driver, to tell you the truth, that could have been eliminated from the round of 16 all the way down to the round of 4. That's William Byron. Especially, I think you were right about the point situation, because Eric, that's the thing that does concern me the most, is that he doesn't have a lot of success at these first few tracks. And even if he gets by, and maybe this is why you're going against him early, even if he gets by the first round, if he doesn't get off to a good start, that could kind of put him in behind the 8 ball for the next round.
That's the only reason, because my little crystal ball that I used was, I just feel Talladega is a tough track. I feel like Talladega is going to make or break his round of 8 prospects. Is the reason I say that is I think he's going to easily get by the first round. He doesn't have a lot of momentum, but again, it's been some weird tracks lately. If you look at what he did on the tracks in the first round, his last 2 finishes at Darlington were top 5. He was 7th in Richmond in the spring. Bristol, he was 8th in the spring race there last year. Not this year in the dirt, but the year before that. He was running well there last year for getting caught up in a wreck. I feel like this round, he'll propel through. It's the next round. Vegas hasn't necessarily been a strong track to him. It's Talladega. We've seen Byron either finish in the top 5 of super speedways or he's like 37, 38, 39, 40. Like he's in the back. And his worst tracks this year have been road courses. And the Roval is the cut race. So my fear for him is if he gets caught up in something in Talladega, do the wheels fall off and he struggles in Charlotte. And with everybody so close in points in that midway factor, is Talladega the determining factor that keeps him out? And that's why I had him bounce, because I felt like Christopher Bell on the flip side, he's good at Vegas. We've seen what he can do in super speedways. The Toyota guys, we know in playoff races at Talladega, they ride in the back till they're there in the end. And then road courses, he's the opposite. He's been really good at. So I feel like where Byron drops in Talladega, Bell makes up on the Roval and does just enough to get by. If I had to rank him, I'd have had Byron 9, Bell 8. That's how I kind of had him getting by.
CJ, you actually, both of you guys had Bell as your preseason sleeper. Eric stuck with Bell, but you did not, CJ. You have him out in the round of 12.
Yeah, just a little bit more inconsistent to me at this point. Not to say that he wouldn't be, roughly on par with Byron, because I agree with Eric. If you're going to have an 8 and 9, those would be the 2 that I would choose from a sleeper perspective. Just lack of consistency from Bell. We've got a diverse set of tracks coming up in these final 10 races. Byron's been more consistent over the variety of tracks, I feel, and Hendrick's been more consistent in terms of those tracks as well. So I just feel like Bell might need that extra year of experience of being in this situation, whereas Byron already has it. I anticipated with the success that Hamlin had last year with Joe Gibbs Racing that they would have been the ones versus Hendrick that would have been head and shoulders above the rest of the field this year, which is why I had him early. But as the season's played out, it's been more Hendrick than Gibbs, and that's really the determinant factor for me.
I was looking at the preseason picks, and I was actually surprised. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that we all had Tyler Reddick in the playoffs, and you guys also had him as co-sleepers. And I believe we all have him making the round of 12. But
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in essence, do you think though, was this a successful season for Tyler Reddick? Eric?
I'd say so. It seems to me he's on par with what Austin Dillon did last year. It seems like you just take the name off the door, and it seems exactly like an Austin Dillon situation. And for a second-year driver without really any practice or qualifying, and I'd say it's a success. I would next year. You just want to see him improve. He didn't make the playoffs last year. He was close. He improved in this year. I just don't think RCR's got cars to win. I think he's making the most of what he had, and I'd say to me it'd be a success. And you got to look at the tracks in this round. And I think they can make it through. It's just the next round. I think it's going to take a win. And same logic I had for Hamlin. He's never won a race in the Cup Series. I just can't bank on him winning a race to get to the round of 8. And it certainly could happen at Talladega or somewhere like that. But it's a long-winded answer. I think I'd say, yeah, I consider this a success for him.
You agree, CJ?
I think they're halfway there. Making the playoffs was one half of that equation. The other half would be to win. Austin Dillon's obviously won with the team. Reddick needs to win with the team. I think if they pull out a win, then it's a successful season. If they don't, they made the playoffs. It's a halfway successful season. I think they need the win to go along with it.
Okay. Now, as far as again, we have our futures up, and just quickly, just getting back to what I was saying, CJ, his winning driver right now is Kyle Larson. So it's about 3,000 profit if Larson wins today. Eric, you have 3 guys that are breaking even: Hamlin, Harvick, and Truex. But Logano's the one that actually is making you a couple of grand. And I have Blaney, as I mentioned before, making about $5,000, and then Bowman and Byron and Bowman making about $3,000 or $4,000. Also, Kurt Busch is in there, making a couple of grand. So, as far as that's concerned, though, if you're just looking at championship odds today and you haven't invested any money at all, how would and let me just see if I can make some predictions based on your picks then, starting with you, Eric. Looking at your picks, first of all, would you play Kyle Larson heavy and just kind of forget about everyone else, maybe throw a couple of bucks on some sleepers? Or would you play it the other way and go with some of the other picks and just forget about Larson because his odds are too small?
I'd go the other way just because if this was a points format, I'd go all in on Larson, not even worry about sleepers. What worries me about Larson is the 750 tracks in Phoenix he hasn't been sharp on. And I think, honestly, if I had to rank the teams, Gibbs and Penske, then Hendrick on 750 tracks, and you look at Larson's stats on short tracks this year, they're all right. They're top 10s, but they're not strong top 5s. So I would punt on him and probably go more Hamlin, Kyle, Truex, Logano, Blaney. I feel more better about them. Blaney for Phoenix worries me, but those other guys, that's why I'd punt on Larson right now. But this round's going to say a lot because they're all 750 tracks, and you look at the final 2 races of the season are 750 tracks. So this round's going to speak volumes for later.
Yeah, and look, we still have one more road course to go, which is going to be, okay, is it going to be Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott? So
exactly.
But the reason why I also think, and CJ and I have talked a lot about this the last few weeks, is that now that there is only one road course left, I think things are going to be different. Things for a couple of months, it was a lot of road courses, and that just, kind of inflated things for especially Kyle Larson. And that's another reason why I just think let's just take a step back a little bit with Larson and see how he does outside these road courses for a little while. And he had no good history at Daytona and pretty much did nothing at Daytona. I know it's a completely different type of racetrack, but I'm very interested to see how Larson goes here in the first 3 races of this first round. So Kyle, Hamlin, and Blaney, that's the way that you would go then. And Elliott, you'd put money on those drivers then?
I'd put Elliott, yeah, and here's the other factor that I think we, for betting-wise, need to hope for. Kyle Larson winning Sunday would help us out a lot because Darlington isn't going to translate the same for Martinsville and Phoenix later. It's going to bring those other guys' odds even more to us. Plus, it's the favorite winning. Next weekend's race at Richmond is going to be the one that you're going to want to watch because if Larson is just the top 10 guy, he just looks like another guy. Because remember Richmond back in the spring, it was Hamlin and Truex and Logano. And you look at Phoenix, it was Hamlin, Truex, and Logano. And you look at Martinsville, it was Hamlin, Truex, and Logano. If those 3 rise to the occasion again and Larson's just an afterthought, I think that's going to speak a lot of volumes for us moving forward. So I would honestly, that's why I would cash in now while you can on those other guys and root for Larson this weekend because they're going to even come back farther for you and then jump all in on those even more for Richmond.
Okay. And even though, let's see, you have Bell and he's 28-1 right now, Bell to win the championship. So he's your official sleeper. Blaney, considering he's 12-1, that's that top contender since you have him in the final 4 that would make you the most money.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm shocked he's still 12-1.
Yeah.
Even coming like 3 top 2s in a row. And I just feel like the odds makers don't like Ryan Blaney for some reason. It doesn't matter. If that was Kyle Larson, it'd be like 3-1. But it's like, I'll take it as long as they keep giving him at 10, 11, 12-1. Yep. I'll roll through it. Same with Byron. Do I think he's going to win the championship? No. But if you're going to keep throwing those odds out, I'll keep taking it.
And what about you, CJ? Would you do the same thing, same strategy as Eric, or would you go all in on Larson?
I'd probably go all in on Larson. And the reason why is that we've said it a couple of times. It's a long way to Phoenix. We've got 10 weeks, 10 races, almost 3 months, 2.5 months. The team's been working knowing that Phoenix is the finale since Larson won his first race and got into the playoffs. They got the rest of their team in the playoffs. I guarantee you they are focusing in on that 750 package and specifically Phoenix. So I think Larson can navigate his way through it, certainly can do so with the points. That's going to get him through the first couple of rounds easily, regardless of issues. So if they're able to get there, I'm banking on the fact that it's an innovative team. They're going to figure out how to be able to be more competitive than they have been on those types of tracks. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with Larson, same as I've been pretty much all year.
So basically, you would do Larson, and then you would put money on Byron, your sleeper, to try to hedge your bet on somebody that's a good contender with solid odds.
Yep.
All right. He's 11-1, Byron, just as you kind of mentioned there, Eric. No respect on Byron either. All right. So why don't we now turn to this week's race for the last few minutes, because this is going to jumpstart everything. And it's unfortunate. Look, first of all, what is the deal? I know you guys are you're a little bit more old school than I am with the whole Darlington thing. And I don't mind Darlington. It's just that why do we have to have the two races again? And does it really have? I mean, if you want to have really, I don't mind if you want to have the Darlington race to begin the playoffs. Okay, it's sentimental, whatever. But do we have to have two races at Darlington? I don't understand that. It's a boring racetrack. Everybody knows it. Nobody though has won from the front row. No driver over the last 9 races, which is a little unusual, and no Chevy driver has won the last 9 races at Darlington. So how did that go into your strategy on picking races this week, Eric?
Not much at all, to be honest, because I just feel like this one we've been hyping up a lot is Kyle Larson to lose. He's starting up front. You're not going to be able to pass him. It's going to be a tough track to pass on in general. They don't beat themselves up, and it just feels like of all the races he's won, why not give him another crown jewel? I mean, he's won the Coke 600. He's won the Knoxville Nationals. He won the BC 39 dirt race out here. He just seems to win all the big races. Why would he not win the Southern 500? I mean, it's just Kevin Harvick dominated last year, the regular season, won the first playoff race. I think it's fitting that he win. That's why I didn't take a lot of factors into the starting or the Chevrolet, because I mean he finished second in May, so I feel like I almost feel like him and Truex are just going to flip flop. I feel like Truex can flip that switch on, but I just don't feel like head to head, speed to speed. I think Larson's ahead of everybody, especially at Darlington.
Well, it would make a lot of sense with the if it's another boring race, especially if someone dominates, and Larson's been dominating this year. You could put us all asleep. A few hours into the race. He did dominate in 2018, leading 284 of 367 laps. So he's more than capable of doing that again, even though he did not lead a lap earlier this year and finishing second. Eric, Atlanta and Homestead, those are the two racetracks that are the most similar?
Yeah, Homestead the closest. Atlanta, because of the age surface. You can compare the two because the surface and Larson just look great at both. So, it all adds up. So, those would be the two races I would.
Yeah, he was dominating that first Atlanta race, the one that Blaney won late, and was 4th at Homestead. Average finish of 6th in 7 starts at Darlington. Then CJ, taking a look, because again, both you guys have Larson. Both you guys also have Truex at 6-1. Truex has a couple of wins, including this year. So he won this year, led 248 of 293 laps. But it's interesting because it was his first top 5 at Darlington since winning at Darlington at 2016. He also led 196 laps at Darlington in the second of 2 last year. So the last 2 races at Darlington, he's been very good.
Yeah, and for that reason, you have to include him in your picks, because despite the fact that he doesn't have momentum on his side at this very moment, he's proven over the past couple of races that he's extremely good at this track. And Eric hit the nail on the head in terms of the rough surface. It's an old school track with a real rough surface. You've got to be an old school kind of driver to come out on top. And so my top 4 picks my total 4 picks are all kind of old school drivers. Barring Larson, maybe he's more of a new school guy, but he's proven that he's excellent on these types of tracks this season. So I think you have to go with Truex, especially at 6-1 for somebody that's led that many laps over the last 2 races at this particular track. Maybe Sunday night's not going to be his night, but I feel like he's a must choose at 6-1.
Okay.
And remember, he led 196 laps and wrecked with Chase for the lead with 14 to go in this race last year. He very well could be won the last 2 races at this track. So, and that's what's remarkable with Larson and him. You're getting a guy 6-1 that led 248 laps in May and then 196 more in this very race last year. And you get him right now for 6-1. It's like a no-brainer right now.
Well, CJ, you had to spend double on Larson to get the same payout with Truex.
Yep.
Eric, you had to spend a lot more on Larson. So why didn't, any particular reason you didn't decide to go for it a little bit more with Truex then?
Just because I feel like Larson's the guy
He's the
that
guy.
should win this race.
Okay.
Yeah, I just felt like ranking him right now, like who do I because I had that money sitting there. I'm like, all right, well, who do I side it to? It's going to be one of these two. And it's like, it'd be no-brainer that Larson right now stands out ahead of Truex. This is his race to lose, I feel. And they just don't beat themselves up very much. It's going to take something out of his control, I feel, for him not to win this race.
At 8-1, 3 drivers, none of us took Chase Elliott. He's an 8-1 driver. Kyle, though, both you guys took Kyle and Hamlin. And again, I took Hamlin. I'm the only one. It's the only driver we've all taken. But Kyle Busch, even though he's kind of slowed up a little bit, but that shouldn't mean much. 5th and 2nd in Atlanta this year. 13 top 10s and 19 races at Darlington. He's only won once, though. That was 2008 when he led 169 laps. And here's another thing. He's led 725 laps in his career. He led 19 laps, including leading 19 laps in 9 of his last 10. So he really just does well here pretty much a lot. And he's just very consistent at this racetrack. If you had to choose, taking a look at the investment you guys made on both drivers, both very similar. So if you had to choose, CJ, between Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, who would you choose? Who would you pick?
Hamlin. I went even on the Gibbs guys, so I went heavy on Larson for all the reasons that Eric said. I went even on the Gibbs guys. I do think Hamlin is typically pretty good at Darlington. He's very hungry for a win. If I had to choose one of the bunch, I would go for Hamlin right now. And that's just more of a gut feel. Like I said, I put even money on all of them. Get the higher payout actually on either Busch or Hamlin versus Truex. But I think Gibbs looks good because of Truex and what they've been able to accomplish at this track. But if I've got to choose between a couple, it'll be Hamlin, or those two, it would be Hamlin.
Yeah, Hamlin, and he does have better stats, Eric, than Kyle Busch. As impressive the stats are for Kyle, Hamlin's better because he has 10 top 5s to Kyle's 6. They both have about the same race appearances there. And also, Denny's got 3 wins to Kyle's 1. And as also CJ said, Hamlin is a little bit more desperate. Who would you take?
Probably Hamlin, same reasons. And plus, he should have been 3rd in this race last year. If you remember, he and Jimmy Johnson had a run in coming to pit road on his final pit stop. And he didn't slow down enough, missed the pits, came back around and had to pit again. And that's why he wasn't a 3rd-place finisher last year. I feel like it would be fitting to go winless in the regular season and win the first playoff race. The speed's there. And I feel like running the Xfinity race Saturday is going to be a big advantage to him, too, because they got that new strip in turn 2 that they paved. So he's going to have, 130-some laps? I got it right here. He's going to have 147 laps to prepare ahead of a lot of these guys for Sunday to know. This unknown strip, he's going to already have 147 laps on it. So I feel like that's going to be a little bit of an advantage as well.
Okay, the other driver that nobody picked was Harvick. 11 straight top 10s, 9 top 5s, a runner-up and 3 wins. That's how good Harvick's been at Darlington, but nobody's picking him. And that's because he just, no top 5s in his last 7 this year. And he's gone to racetracks that he's had very impressive stats like this. But it's just not working out for Kevin Harvick. If you had to take a driver between Harvick and Elliott, who would you go with, CJ?
Elliott, hands down.
Hands down. Are you hands down, Eric?
Same. I Harvick's finished better than fourth once all year, and I just don't. They just haven't figured it out. I don't see why it's going to change now. So, and Elliott, remember, right? He could have won the second race at Darlington last year, but Kyle misjudged and wrecked him. He wrecked with Truex while leading with 14 to go win this race last year, and we see what his teammate Larson can do there. So, out of those two, it would be a runaway for Elliott, I feel like.
The Penske drivers, Keselowski 12-1, Blaney and Logano 14-1. And as far as the Penske drivers are concerned, I'm the only one to do anything and that is with Blaney. And the only reason I went with Blaney, because we know this is not a good racetrack for him, but he finished 8th this year, the best he's ever finished at this track. And he's just so hot right now. And like you said, it's not just because he's good, it's because he's also getting a little lucky. And so I also look at the 1st and the 5th at Atlanta, and I go, well, maybe. So why not for someone this hot at 14-1? Who's your top Penske driver, CJ, this week?
Keselowski, he's got the win here in the past. I know he's probably the last in terms of momentum at the moment, but he's pretty good at Darlington. Has, finished 24th, unfortunately, earlier this year, started on pole, led 4 laps, but he dominated, led 196 laps, just like Truex, and finished second. He's come here and won in 2018, the Southern 500, leading 24 laps. There's one other race here where he led 80 laps. Logano's never won at the track, and we know Blaney's not very good at this track. So of the bunch, I think, despite the fact that it's an unexpected and kind of come from behind type of situation, I do think Keselowski this week of the 3 is more likely to end up in victory lane.
Eric, Keselowski has 1 top 10 in his last 4 races. Logano's average finish in the last 4 races this year is 28th. Blaney's the hot driver. Who did you go with? Which Penske driver?
Probably Blaney because he's the hot hand, ride the hot hand. But also he told me, I asked him the other day, this was the round that he was bounced last year because these tracks aren't good for him.
Right.
And they're really good for him. But you got to get there. Did he learn anything from last year? And he actually said that these finishes at a top 10 at Darlington and Richmond,
he'll take it.
2 of his worst tracks, he basically said now he's got a notebook. He knows what to do. He didn't know. He says, I was out to lunch. I had no idea what to do. Now he knows what to do. That it's almost like my notebook's open. I know what I'm looking for in a car. I'm not chasing this car. That if I know what I need to do it right. And you look at his playoff point situation, I think because of all those factors, I don't think he's going to win, but he's going to go for a solid top 10, where Keselowski and Logano just need to get somehow to the top 10, where Blaney's already starting up there. That's why I feel like he's just going to stay there all day.
So he's your top fantasy driver out of the 3.
Out of those 3, yeah.
Bowman is 18-1. We both put money on Bowman, and the other Hendrick driver is Byron at 12-1. So you and I, Eric, both put money on Byron and Bowman. We talked about the issues Byron's had recently at these tracks, but he did win at Homestead, and he has finished well. If you take a look overall, the last 2 races at Darlington, including 4th this year, are his best 2. Bowman, meanwhile, has a couple of top 10s and his last 4 races at Darlington, and he's led 42 laps, plus he was 3rd and 4th at Atlanta. So both of those drivers have some decent history this season at the other tracks at Homestead and Atlanta, and Byron also finished 4th at Darlington this year. Eric.
Yeah, no brainers there. Yeah, Byron's actually be my top guy. That I feel like he's got a shot to win. I mean, fifth in this race last year, 4th in May.
Your top guy.
Yeah, I mean, he won Homestead. He said he was good, solid in Atlanta. I feel like some of his recent bad finishes where he's not good on road courses, he admitted that. We've had a lot of them lately, had a lot of fluky tracks. I mean, super speedways, road courses. None of them have translated over back now to playoff tracks he was good at. And I feel like he's got some momentum he can build off there. And again, Hendrick's been great. Look at what his teammates have done here too. So I feel like he's a really good, solid pick for those odds.
And as far as long shots are concerned, The only driver that I put some long shot money on was Kurt Busch. And hey, if I'm going to trade for him, then I must believe in him. And I do. He won Atlanta. He was 8th at Homestead. He did crash earlier this year at Darlington, but he's got 7 top 10s in his last 11 this year, 5 top 10s in his last 7 at this track, 4 top 5s overall. He's been okay at this track at certain times, but it's all about the 33-1 and how hot he is more than anything. And I also think Reddick is not bad at 33-1, CJ. He was 2nd at Homestead, 6th at Atlanta, 2 top 5s and a runner-up in 3 Xfinity Series races, and he has 3 top 15s in 4 races in the Cup Series at Darlington.
Yeah, he was 12th there earlier this year. I think from a sleeper standpoint, you've got to look at the Roush guys. So Buescher, notwithstanding the issues last week, and Newman, both of them finished in the top 10 at Darlington earlier this year. They've been quiet on all the other tracks, but they've been very good on these rough surfaces. So Buescher and Newman are 2 of the long shots that you got to look at. And aside from Reddick, which I totally agree with, I would also throw Chase Briscoe into that bunch because he continues to be pretty solid from week to week. And he finished, 11th, I think, here earlier this year. Yep. So another finish for him.
And at 175-1, Briscoe has a win in the Xfinity Series at this track, too. Deep sleepers for you, Eric?
Same. I'd say Buescher and Briscoe. I mean, the Buescher's obvious best race this year, the finish didn't reflect it, was Homestead, similar track. Did he win a stage?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken? And the only reason he wasn't up there was the final stage, or going to the final stage, he had a pit road problem, and then a little damage on a restart, I think, put him back. He didn't have aerodynamics from that point forward, but he was great at Homestead. He was great at Darlington in May. He was up there in Atlanta. So for those odds, definitely him. And then, like CJ said, Briscoe, he's coming on strong as of late. He said the other day on the radio that Darlington's always suited him well. He doesn't know why, other than his line in turn 1 and 2, he runs low, where everybody else is up on the wall. He said he diamonds it, and he's not sure with the new patch if that's going to help or hurt him. But he said that line has worked for him, and that's why you look at his Xfinity finishes are always good. 11th as a rookie back in May. So, and they've got nothing to lose. These guys can all go off strategy and maybe catch a lucky caution at some point, steal a win. So for their odds and how good they are, they can put themselves in a position to steal one on Sunday
night.
And
by the way, Di Benedetto and Almirola are 66-1. Di Benedetto has 2 top 10s in his last 5 at Darlington, and he was hot heading into Daytona and almost won that race. Almirola has 2 top 10s in his last 3 at Darlington, crashed earlier this year. Let's not forget he was 9th, 8th, and 5th as a playoff driver last year in the first 3 races, and none of us picked him to get out of the first round. So I'm kind of surprised that none of us picked him to get. I was thinking about it.
I almost did, but then I thought, he's Harvick's teammate. They don't have things figured out. And then he kind of eased my mind with that pick too, because he said on the playoff media day that I think they are throwing Hail Marys at every chance they can do, because they know they're not going to advance much on speed. They've shown that all year. He's got 1 top 5 all season that, hey, we'll go off strategy. We're going to hope that we're going to try to fluke our way into a win and just keep riding that momentum from a fluke. There's no way we're going to win on pure speed. There's no way we're going to do anything to beat the Hendrick guys other than let's just throw Hail Marys. Let's go off strategy, hope a caution eventually comes, and we'll see where the chips may fall, because that's the only way we're going to win this championship. So you do that enough times, eventually it's going to find you. So I just don't know if Darlington's going to be that track, because there's so many long green flag runs.
All right. How you covering things this week as usual, CJ? What are you up to?
We've got all of the series going this weekend. So we got trucks doing a doubleheader on Sunday with the Cup Series at Darlington. Xfinity is going to be on Saturday. So we'll have fantasy previews up tomorrow on rotowire.com for all those races. And then we'll have a review or recap of the Cup race probably sometime on Monday.
By the way, the odds are out. I don't know if I have them right here, but who's your pick? Do you have a pick, CJ, for the Xfinity Series? Do you do that?
For Saturday?
No, championship.
For the championship, honestly, I haven't really thought about it, but if I'm going to go with anybody right off the top of my head, I'll go ahead and I'll say Austin Cindric. He's just been very good. He's got the most wins so far this season. I think he's most consistent across the variety tracks. We're not to the playoffs yet for the Xfinity guy, but if I'm guessing early, I'm going to put my money on Cindric.
Yeah, AJ and Cindric are 2-1.
Yep.
Who would you take, Eric?
Honestly, it's probably right now one of those two, but to go with a little bit farther odds, because I haven't seen him yet to know where exactly it is, but I think Allgaier, just because he's really good at Phoenix.
He's 4-1.
And I feel like he'll get the – see,
Come on, if he was gonna be boring.
If he was, since he's only 4-1, I'm gonna go Cindric. I thought maybe he might be 6 or 7-1, right. But no, not for 4-1.
When does the playoff start?
I think they've got like three more
races left. Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Before the playoffs start, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're Vegas. I think Vegas kicks off their playoffs.
So they only have how many races for a playoff?
7.
Oh.
They have, yeah.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I just didn't graduate, and my math grades were pretty poor. So,
but here's what's weird. This is the weird part of the season
just
where
kidding.
you have the trucks are in their
trucks are on their second race.
Trucks are in their second race. Cups on their first, and Xfinity's not even in the playoffs yet.
That makes a lot of sense.
Bristol in a few weeks. Yeah, wait till you get to Bristol in a few weeks, where it's I think the trucks opening race of their next round. It's the Xfinity regular season finale and the Cup cut race for the first round. Wait till I think it finally gets to Talladega or the third round for the Cup, where they all finally line back up again. It's somewhere around that.
NASCAR.
We're to the time where it's going to start confusing some people.
We've said it all year. We're here. You can hire us. You can come in for a consultant.
Just line them up. Just make it simple. Yeah.
We'll sit down.
People could
get one of those big tables. Just lunch, breakfast, and dinner, because it's going to be a long day, and we'll throw out a ton of great ideas. So we'll help you out as best we can, guys. Appreciate it. Not sure when we're going to see Eric again. Maybe Homestead. Phoenix.
Maybe. Yeah, I know this weekend I'm actually allowed out of the house to go to the NHRA stuff here, the U.S. Nationals. So I will be double dipping.
Okay.
So,
hopefully we'll see next week or the week after. And CJ, I know I'll see you next week.
Yes, I'll be here. Thanks for having me this week too.
You got it. Talk to you later, guys.
Yeah. Have a good